Sir, so we would love to have a small discussion on the visual literacy and the modern audience. So my question is, over the decades, you have closely monitored how the Indian audience consumes the imagery. So from eagerly reading high-quality print magazines to scrolling through the hundreds of images illuminated across social media. So, do you feel that this hyper-consumption has genuinely improved our visual literacy, or has it made the audience, or rather the viewers, less patient with complex, layered documentary narratives?
So I think, even in the past, finding an audience, I mean the audience is an audience, okay? You have to basically cater to their expectations. The layered narrative that you're talking about is always something that needs to be introduced, and sometimes it has a few of them. And that has not changed. What has changed is the way images are being consumed. For example, with social media, you have endless scrolling and you don't know what's coming up next. It's clicking up and you really don't know what's coming up next. But when you have specifically decided that you want to read a certain book, look at the pictures from a certain book, or you're looking at, let's say, a newspaper, and you know that a newspaper has news images. You know that a magazine of a certain type has got a certain kind of, thought process, a certain kind of, lead towards a certain subject area. You are already intellectually decided to, spend some time, with that image, and that is where a lot of learning happens. Okay, so social media has been problematic. The good thing about social media is that it has introduced a lot more people to the joy of images. So people who want to consume images, they get images from a large source, right? So that is one good thing about it. But then you have to be specific about what you consume from social media.
Right. So, sir, now we'll move on the theme of the art of self-editing and sequencing. So, especially in the last discussion, we were talking about the burst mode in the camera, which is giving us more and more images every second that we give the shutter. So, on this note, I would love to have your view on a vital skill for any photojournalist is not just shooting the images, but strictly editing and sequencing their own work before pitching to an editor. So, based on the thousands of photo essays you have reviewed, where do young photojournalists most commonly fall when building a cohesive narrative, and how can they develop a more ruthless, objective eye for their own work?
I think it's one of the most critical skills that any photographer should have, is to be able to, so a lot of the pitfall of being a photographer and to be able to look at your work and enjoying your own work is that you end up loving it so much that you can't see the problem areas. I think it was Wynot who actually, his entire idea was shoot a lot, okay, forget about what you shot. Then, after 3 months, come back to what you shot. And look at it again, because now you're looking at the fresh pair of eyes, and then you're seeing the problem areas in your own photos. So, the whole idea of looking at photos is to, disconnect from it. Not remember the thing, you just disconnect from it. But that is actually not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult. And especially for a working photojournalist, who's working on a job, who has to go out and shoot every day, it's not easy. Which is why we have photo editors who actually do that job. So there's a job that the photo editor does is look at the photographer's work and decide which are some of the more important frames than the others. But it becomes a lot easier if the photographer can do it too.
Yeah, because otherwise, what I have the mindset to showcase from that image. Like for example, we did one exercise in VIBGYOR once, and we gave an image of a normal city life, where you have a tea stall on one side, you have one vehicle, somebody is waiting at the bus stop. So likewise, there are some lot of small frames, and then we ask that you crop and you find your own frame and you share. And it was over WhatsApp. So that everyone gets a direct understanding. It's just an exercise that how do you want to frame if you have been there in that particular area. And it was a very interesting exercise. So everyone has a different perspective from the same frame. So for example, just imagine the image shot by me. If at that point another 5 or 6 people would have been with me, everyone would have shot this much or this much or this much, or maybe even wider, somebody would have taken even wider than this street also. So this is where I find that the charm of photography is, which you told is there is nothing, it's very elusive term that good photography. It's like everyone has their own eye, it's very subjective. So I always felt that how can the editor connect to that eye? Because it might so have happened that I am carrying a prime lens, and even though I am standing on this side of the road, I would love to go more closer to that subject at the least or and find it in these expressions only. But since I have a prime lens, I have a limitation, and I'm not carrying any further lenses. Maybe my shot is also having few more elements in the frame. So if it's me, I am editing at that point, I will crop it accordingly, or I will keep that frame. So the moment I will give to the editor, maybe he or she will get the idea, okay, this is the frame. And so it's very difficult. So I have even spoken to a few very eminent photographers in Mumbai and in Calcutta as well. They are not editing their own photos. The only reason because they don't have time. They are very specific that immediately after I press the shutter button, I have to again start planning for my next shoot. So I do not have time to sit and start editing and do that. So I have edited, he does that. So I have the same question to him. Dada, then how can you? So then he gave me a very good reply. The one which you told, which relates to his reply a lot. That he told me something very good. He told that see, many a times I have seen that when I have visited an event, for example, a physical event or maybe a family event or an occasion. So while I am filming, while I am doing that, I want to get that mood. I am being a part of that movement. I'm getting emotionally attached to it. So if it's a stage event, maybe with the emotional music. If it's a function, a household event, maybe with the emotion of the event. So when I'm seeing the image, the emotions are triggering me as if it's a memory coming back to me. So the moment, maybe technically that image is incorrect, but I am feeling that, okay, this is the time when I had the goosebumps. So that very, very personal. That may not be with the viewer. The viewer will find it technically incorrect. But that emotion will resist me in deleting or editing the images the way which actually will do justice. The editor was not with me. So what he will do, he will be very unbiased to view the image from the viewer's point of view and do the needful. So that really helps me a lot. So let the raw images be with me later on if I want to. So that I'm doing for some job, I'm doing something. So this was a very, which relates me to what exactly you told, that after coming back after 3 months, since he used to have a timeline, they used to do the work, but they used to cut down the emotion while they are analyzing the images. So I think
you cannot do this with
yes.
all forms of photography.
Yes.
Photojournalism, especially news images, need to go out of the very same day. So sometimes that is difficult with that kind of photography.
Yes, yes.
But here's the thing, about being able to, if you see enough number of pictures, you begin a process of reading the image. So you are literally reading the image like as though it's a book. You are looking at the various elements of it. You are looking at and you immediately know what kind of lens has been used. So photo editors often know exactly what has gone behind the picture. Where was the photographer standing in this picture? Could there have been some way of improving? Could there have been something wrong with this frame? Is this in some way staged? Is it not staged? All this comes very immediately, very quickly to a photo editor. Also, the thing is that if you know the photographer well enough, you can even read the mood of the photographer through the photo. Okay, this person is not in the correct mood. Okay, I have often asked my colleagues, what happened? You're upset. And I said, how do you know? Just from looking at the photo, you can tell what the mood of the photographer is. So there's a lot that goes on in the reading of photograph. That it's not just technical, okay, but there is, apart from the technical is very very, very critical. But okay, so the photographer who is used to was doing a certain job in a certain way has changed that way, and therefore there's something to redo in it. So there's a lot that can be get by the editor.
This is something which is very interesting. Again, something which I have heard for the first time. I have personally experienced, because many times when we go, even if the occasion is very lively and but just because you have something back of the mind, maybe some other things, street food in a part. So maybe you will not connect to that event, or maybe the photos actually doesn't come to that. So I think that's what exactly an editor can catch hold of. So that's really good. So now we would love to have a thought from you on the technology versus vision. So as an editor who has thoroughly analyzed the evolution of camera technology from film to the early digital and now highly advanced mirrorless systems. So you have seen how gear has evolved and to solve almost every technical hurdle. So in today's landscape, where capturing a sharp, well-exposed image is easier than ever, so do you feel there is a danger for the new generation in prioritizing the technological perfection over the raw emotional storytelling?
Not really. I think that at the end of it, for photographers, if you are into the subject of photography, and if you are looking at pictures for its quality and for its purpose and for intent, looking at it for its beauty and aesthetics, you will go beyond the camera. I mean, the camera is just a tool. At the end of it, it doesn't matter how technologically advanced it gets. Yes, the one thing that has happened is that the ability of a cell phone, for example, to make a good exposure. Okay, even just a few days back, I decided to pitch the dead of night about 2 a.m. My cat was sitting by the bed. I wanted to just see what would happen. Hardly any light outside, and I used my cell phone, which has got a tiny sensor smaller than my small finger, okay, to make that picture. And because of machine learning and artificial intelligence and all, it gave me an image that seemed like daylight.
Oh my God.
Okay, and I checked the ISO at that point of time. It was something like ISO 600. Okay, on the cell phone, on the image. 640 something, some strange number of that. Okay, which we are not used to. But here's the thing, so you can get a good exposure. Is it telling the truth? Is it really reflecting the reality of the situation? These are actually very important questions to us. So you have a camera now that can give you the right exposure, which I remember, it took so much of effort to learn how to make the correct exposure at one point of time. So that learning has gone. It is no longer there. But now there is new learning that needs to be done. How to actually get what is real. Capture reality in the correct way to be captured. I mean, that reality is completely now missing. When you make a picture. So how do you get that in your frame? And oddly enough, I'll give you the same picture. I put it through ChatGPT. Okay. And I said, make it look like light. And it did the job. Okay, but see, all this is weird. It's just very strange. I find it very strange. How do you make use of technology so that it actually benefits you in terms of getting
Yes. Well, next let us have a small discussion on the balancing the aesthetics and with journalistic truth. So today we often see a blurring of the lines between highly stylized fine art street photography and traditional photojournalism. For a photographer looking to establish a credible career as a visual journalist, how do you advise them to balance the desire to create an aesthetically beautiful image with the fundamental responsibility of documenting the unvarnished truth?
Because I think the question itself sort of answers itself. You have aesthetics, right? And then once the aesthetics is established, it is there, you know that then you want to know whether it is unvarnished. And you can see how much of effort has gone into the image, how much of time, how much of the staging of the image, everything is visible in the photograph itself. So it is not that it is not there. We saw Mr. Papiani's body of work. Look at the expressions, look at the moment, look at capturing the thing, and it's completely aesthetic. At the same time, it is so raw. it is so powerful.
Yes.
You know? So that's where the difference is. You know, and I think the one, you know, you're talking about technology and photography, the one issue with technology today is that people have forgotten that the lens of a cell phone has got a certain kind of an angle of view, okay, which does not mimic the eye. You know, it is much wider than that. Okay, and it distorts the truth in a certain way. It does not, you know, so when you actually have a camera that can go closer, that, you know, when you physically go closer, okay, with a normal lens, for example, okay, or with a telephoto lens, which is not possible with a cell phone. You know, the what you can capture changes. You know, and that becomes very, very critical in great photography, good photography.
Yes, that's indeed something which is, I think, is very true. Now, we would love to have a small idea from you about the future of the medium. So, as traditional print avenues for photo essays continue to shrink and the digital platforms take over, the business and display of photojournalism are fundamentally changing. So, the entire shift of the paradigm. So, looking at the young talent emerging in India today, what gives you the most hope for the future of Indian photojournalism?
Okay, let's look at what is happening with digital photography and its entire move with AI. What is happening is in Photoshop in the picture. There is a certain amount of suspicion. You look at any picture, okay, you are viewing it with a certain amount of suspicion, right? Now, with AI, you can literally create your own pictures by just giving a simple prompt. You know, you want a picture. That's another story. But you know, with AI especially, I've been experimenting a lot with what is possible. What a beautiful, like, what to take a person, put it against a beautiful scene, so easy. Okay, you don't even have to spend hours on Photoshop like you used to make one small change.
Yes.
No, nothing of that is required. Okay, so the level of suspicion is peaking to unimaginable levels. Okay, you don't trust anybody. Now, in this scenario, I think the photojournalist has got a very critical job. Okay, because today photography, okay, is the recording of the truth as it exists. Okay, and that is photojournalism. Almost everything else, you know, people are going to view with suspicion. Almost everything else. Even photojournalists is viewed with suspicion, but even today, if you look at what photography is about, it's about recording truth in a very, very simple sort of direct sort of way. Okay. Today, if you want to take a couple, put them together, newly married couple, put them together, all can be possible in AI. Okay. But the joy of that wedding photographer's job, you know, is so fantastic. I mean, just imagine what a wedding photographer, he has to capture the entire wedding. That will not change. You can't recreate that on AI.
Right. Absolutely. So that's
the unfiltered, you know, it's a nice word.
Right.
The unfiltered truth is what a photojournalist, and that is the only job left, really, if you think about it. You know, everything else has been taken over. The advertising has been taken over by AI. You know, you have everything that's going to be created. Now they're going to actually put things not done with AI on ads. You know, but a photojournalist job cannot be done with AI.
So if you remember when we were doing the terms and conditions of this Ecos and Realities online contest, so there was a lot of discussions that we all have regarding that if an image is created by AI, how can we define? There's a reason why we also implemented that rule that if we have a doubt, because an editor's eye can even change your mood. So if we raise a doubt, we will ask for your royalness. There are so many calls that I can say that how can you ask for royalness? That what if I have clicked in a cell phone and all that stuff? Cell phone also, if you click, you can send me the raw image. I can check whether it is which device and all. That exit is, your exit is there in cell images as well. And we are not, since it's photojournalism, we are accepting the technology. We are not defining that you have to click only with the high-end camera. But you have to be truth. You have to be true with what you are sharing with us. So, but I feel still like people have a lot of questions and eyebrows raised when we have dropped that terms and conditions. So I have to literally convince a lot of people. So this is the reason why we are doing think that's what you have told. That this is one genre where I think AI can never intervene.
Because humans can bear witness. Right now, I can bear witness to your life, and so I can shoot your life. I can make a picture of your life. Okay. Similarly, photojournalists are the people who bear witness. AI cannot bear witness to something. You know, that's a very critical difference.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think that's with the end of whatever I thought that we will have a small discussion, but I think you have a lot of things to show to all of us. So we can start now, or we'll go at the extreme end. How do you want to do it then?
So, you know, one of the things that when it comes to editorial work and photography, I mean, the thing is that when I was asked to be the editor of this magazine, the first question was, you know, I was actually unprepared. You know, and the thing is, you know, if I had the chance to create a magazine, what would I want the magazine to be? You know, was the first question that occurred to my mind. And so there is a book that came to my head at that point of time. It was very, very inspirational for me. So I have a few pages of the book which I wanted to show, which influenced the direction of the magazine that eventually came out. Of course, doing a magazine is like, you know, walking on a tightrope for an editor, okay? And you are balancing 3 pots in head and 1 pot in each hand. You know, and things can go wrong at any point of time. So you have to be very strict, you have to let go of certain things. I mean, the most ridiculous situations happen. You know, so the presentation that I have is actually this book,
Okay.
which gave me a lot of answers, gave me a lot of hope. And I also want to do something like this. So it's just a few visuals in my book.
So we'll start with the presentation.
Yes. So this, when you're talking about editor's job, this is what comes through. And Mr. Parpyani will, I think, you know, because he shared in the WhatsApp group, he shared his life.
Okay.
One of the magazines. So Life is a magazine that ran for 36 years.
Okay.
Okay, from 1936 to 1972. Okay, and
you have all these magazines?
Sorry?
You have all these magazines?
No, I don't. But I have this book. You know this book I bought second hand.
I have a pile of
Life. It's a treasure. I've got about 4 copies. I've got 4 copies of Life.
In fact, I'll talk about it later. Finish.
So this man, Henry R. Hughes, is the founder of Life. Okay, and what did he begin life with? This gave me a lot of inspiration. Now this is what photojournalism should be. Okay, this is exactly what photojournalism should be. To see life, to see the world, to eyewitness great events, the thoughts and faces of the poor, and the gestures of the proud, to see strange things, machines, armies, multitudes, shadows in the jungle and on the moon, to see man's work, his paintings, towers and discovery, to see things thousands of miles away, things hidden behind walls and within rooms, things dangerous to come to, the women that went down and many children, to see and to take pleasure in seeing, to see and be amazed, to see and be instructed. Okay, I can't find a final definition of what we do as photographers. You know? Can you just go to the next slide? Now this is like a kind of a beginning of the book. Okay, and I find these words very. So when I first saw this book, I found this very inspirational. So when we decided, I was wondering what I'm going to talk about, and this is what I thought. Experience is a very crucial word when it comes to photojournalism. Okay, what is the viewer going to experience? The great picture is not really seen, it demands an emotional response. And this is a big problem because when photojournalists have to keep a very, hard heart. It's not easy, it's very, very tough. You see a moment, you have to respond to it in a very emotional way, otherwise you will not get the picture right. You have to respond to it very emotionally. Okay, then you have to move. There have been photojournalists who committed suicide because of what they saw. It's a very difficult kind of a profession. Okay, and not something that anyone can do. And I think this is where I differentiate between photojournalism and maybe documentary, because documentary sometimes requires you to be very unmoved by what you see and think of it as a subject. Photojournalism is very quick, and Unfiltered is therefore very accurate. Look at the range that photojournalism has. This is the condensed page of this book. look at the range. Okay, people think of photojournalism as just that momentary news, but it's so much more than that. Okay, it is we are recording history. Okay, we saw Mr. Patwari's images, that is the history of Bombay. In every shade, the celebrities, the heroes, the villains, okay, events that occur, sports, everything is there, is a part of it. A soldier's life, is such a huge part of photojournalism. Immense. Just go quickly because I think this is the first page.
Yeah.
This is I think page 10.
8.
This is actually the first image. When you open, this is the first image that comes. Just keep going. Even tears
This
can
is
show
a
something.
famous image.
Very famous. I know
It's a
that.
very famous image.
That's what partition. Mother giving a bath to her daughter, even that can be a very powerful image for photojournalism. Sports, human endeavor, what does a human go through to achieve greatness? Olympics, and politicians and leaders in all their modes. The thing about Mr. Patwari's journey, he has done each and every one of these things. If you just go back to the previous slide, you see that lady in the car?
I was about to ask.
Okay. She looks like she's sleeping. She's just committed suicide. She's dead.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, and so peaceful. And look at her body is crushed like that. I think all of us would have seen these pictures before.
Yeah.
This is
Our
also
generation
photojournalism.
would.
Sorry?
Our
Our generation
generation
would.
would.
Yes.
Science.
I saw this picture in school when I was in school.
Achha.
The next one.
This one.
This was the cover of a magazine.
Okay.
And I couldn't, I was, I looked at this picture for such a long time. I was amazed. Look at this. It's a machine. So I thought I would just open this book once more and just take a look again. And I spent 3 days with this book. Of course, this is life. So life was more geared towards American interests. So they have a lot of pictures from that side of the world. And just like us, they have also had their struggles. It's not like, they have a perfect life. Land, what happens with the land is also part of photojournalism. It's not separate from us.
So this is their this one.
It's a feeling. Yeah.
Feeling.
That's a garbage dump behind, like a landfill from New York. And look at the difference in the one is pristine, untouched, one is so they also have their glittering city, but they also have their problems. Robert Capa, famous pictures. Conflict is one of the most difficult jobs for photojournalists. It's not only just putting a life in the life, okay, but we can come back to a lot of trauma. Children, one of the great subjects, and that is a orphanage, that's a naughty boy running off. There was a very famous exhibition called The Family of Man. And this was the last image of that exhibition by Eugene Smith. there is a natural world, and you know what are we as a part of the natural world? We are also part of it. So while people think of this as my life, if you go to the next dimension, you look at this, this is such a moment. I just thought I'd show you some of these pages. This is what great photojournalism can also be about. Almost everything. That's Picasso. Like it. I think Chirudeep will talk about the essay far more than, what he has done is simply incredible in terms of the consistency of the essay.
Yeah.
This is also very humorous, so photography can also be humor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is amazing.
I just thought that, sometimes you lose sight of what all can be done before journalism. It's a lot. And how you do it is very, very important. And I think this is what we should, for journalism.
I think this is really something which is going to set a good guidelines for them. Yes.
No social media, there's no book.
Yes.
It's very interesting. The first Life magazine copy that I ever picked up was, in Bombay you had paper second-hand bookshop. So there was one at Flora Fountain.
Yes,
which
yes.
is the CPO building. And I found this copy of Life magazine there. And I think my life changed from there on. I'd never seen it. I didn't want to be a photographer before that. And I keep thinking that if I hadn't picked up that issue of Life magazine, quite by chance, I don't think I would have started imagining about what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And since then, because those days you could actually find issues of Life magazine on the paper. So I started collecting, and a lot of them are old classic issues of Life magazine. And then there were, of course, the more contemporary, till the time it finally shut down, I think in the 90s. So 72 is when it stopped being a weekly.
Correct.
Then it became a monthly, then it went back to becoming a fortnightly, and then it again became a monthly. I think and eventually in the 90s it shut down. So, what was the very first photo of Life magazine? Was of a child being born. Okay, so it said and life begins. Yeah, and it said and life begins. So the very first issue, with that manifesto, which I incidentally used to carry in my wallet. I don't have it anymore. So for 30 years, 35 years, I've carried it in my wallet. So the last issue of Life magazine, they always had a single page image to close off the issue. It was a very cheeky but a very powerful thing that they did. So the person who they photographed, that kid who was being born, they did a picture of him with a large cake. He was an old man then, and so they photographed him with that cake, and which was the final photo of the last issue of Life magazine. So I have that issue at home.
Do the exhibition of all issues of magazine.
I know.
We can have that.
Yeah.
We can definitely have that one day. We'll plan something because this is something which I
We should just photograph each page and just keep putting it up on social media.
I know. Exactly. Maybe.
And that way an education.
Yeah.
I try to see that, as you know, through whatever else that happened, I try to sort of follow Life magazine's ethos in better photography in the kind of range. And I think so I was the editor for about 15 years, and the magazine existed for 25 years. 25 years in 1 month. That 3 issues do not come out during COVID. Even then, we published a digital version which actually went out free. So those 3 issues went free of cost to everyone, but they were digital, they were PDF form. Otherwise, for 25 years, we published each and every issue of the magazine for 25 years in 1 month. And if someone has collected like not the last 3 years, but let's say from 2010 to 2020, okay, they had a fantastic repertoire of photographers, master photographers, images from the best images from across the world and the best images from India as well.
Yeah.
So we tried our best to do it given our circumstances.
Sad that it had to shut down.
Yes, that's even saddening for I think most of the photographers. But yes, I think that's what the change is all about. So we can't avoid that. Shall we go to the images as well? Which you have
No, that's fine. Okay, so there are 5 issues.
Okay.
In PDF form.
Okay.
Which can over here. If you have their contact details, you can just send across.
I will send across to
all
all
the
the
great information. That's some great.
Fine. So sir has shared
Including history of photography.
Oh, super. So sir has shared 5 issues of the magazine, which I will be creating a drive link and sharing with all the listed participants of today. I think that will be helpful for you as well. So thank you so much, sir. And I think it was such an informative and engaging session. So big round of applause for. Now take a short break. We will have a short break and then we will continue with the third panel discussion with none other than Shri K. So thank you so much, guys. Let's have a short break.